Okay. Oh, okay, so here we are. Everyone see?
Yes.
So we see Pirkei Avot. This is not the first, but certainly the third or the fourth extremely popular Mishnah um, that finds its way into a lot of other liturgical references. Hu Haya Omer. So who is who? We're still, looks like we're still on Hillel, right? In Mishnah 12, we say Hillel Omer, and then 13 is who. So we're assuming we're still on Hillel's sayings. Im ein ani li mili, וכשאני לעצמי מה אני, ואם לא עכשיו אימתי. If I'm not for myself, then who is for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? Excellent advice. Pretty pshat, pretty, you could really just accept it at its literal meaning. I believe Rashi says, Im ein anili, that when I'm speaking about myself, it's about mitzvot. When I'm speaking about others, it's the sort of tikkun olam social action. And im lo achshav ematai, things only get harder, right? If things get harder when you sort of push them off to the side. I have a treadmill sitting in the next room, so that's where my thought goes. Today's going to be the day. Imlo achshav, In fact, I should say, have a great day, everyone, and I got to go do it right now. But Torah study is actually probably one thing that supersedes getting on the treadmill at this point. But Rambam says when you're younger, and you're sort of still, a tree planting its roots, that's the time to really develop good habits, and it gets harder to change, and it gets harder to sort of tackle new things. Um, Thoughts?
It's true. As you get older, you get you want to be comfortable with what you're doing. I guess
I
it's
mean,
not when.
is the synagogue. I mean, the regulars in synagogues by and large are retirees. A lot of people that are sort of at a phase in life where they're available, be it 7:30 in the morning, 6 at night, 9 a.m., available to be on committees. And I'll tell you that I see a lot of older people getting into new things, learning languages, going travel. Well, not so much now, but hoping to travel and biking dozens of kilometers. Socializing.
But that's what we've always done.
Correct.
Okay, and yes, you slow down, but I mean, I biked forever, so I'm still biking.
Right.
I've traveled forever. Okay, so now I'm not traveling, but all these other things I was doing. But for me to try to learn a new language, I would have a hard time learning Swahili,
Right.
something like that. Why would I? I don't seem to have the concentration that I used to have. I guess it's a natural aging process. And I want to feel comfortable doing what I'm doing. So I've always biked, so I feel very comfortable biking. It's nothing new. I've always had trouble learning Hebrew. I still have trouble with the Hebrew because I just can't seem to grasp it. I don't know why. It's what it is. So I do other things that I enjoy. I enjoy studying this because it shows me, well, it explains to me what it is to be a better person. I'm still trying to be a better person. Isn't that interesting? You would think you would achieve it at a particular point in life, but you don't. You always try to go for perfection. And since you can never achieve it, then I'll never be perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, I have kids now learning how to read and write and learning Hebrew and French. And I'm astounded by how quickly they learn and how fast they retain. My middle guy Yahav is the kid that can't sit still, that's doing cartwheels in the corner, and that, but it still sinks in, and like you think that he's sort of in the clouds not hearing you, but then I ask him the question 10 minutes later and he heard me the first time. Whereas I'm someone that if I'm not focused on what I'm doing, it's not going to sink in at all, So
It's
Isn't it
funny.
interesting how the brain works?
yeah, yeah,
I'm teaching my grandson how to play chess. He's 7 years old.
wow,
I gave him 3 lessons. We are playing games now.
right,
Okay. And it's amazing how he beats me every single game he wins.
nice, nice. My favorite band, or one of my favorite bands, are called Fish, right? With PHISH. And so there's obviously no concerts or tours, and they're a band that tours heavily. They just challenged the fans to a game of chess.
So this afternoon, I'm teaching my 2 other grandchildren how to play chess.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because they pick it up right away, like you said.
Yeah, that's it.
Incredible.
I imagine you saw Queen's Gambit.
I did not.
I have not seen it yet.
Oh, you must. It's at top of the list.
Yeah.
Really?
Push it
Okay.
up there.
My wife saw it. She said it's great. So, okay. Next time I go on the bike, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
It's has a McGill connection too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Next
Oh,
time
I
I
didn't
have a
know.
cold or that I'm sort of in bed with, I tend to binge watch those things if I'm, under the weather and kids are in school. So,
Well, that's like
not too
what are the
much.
chances of that happening?
No. So let's see what Shammai has to say. Shammai Omer, good morning, Gail, Boker Tov.
Good morning.
Asay Toratcha Keva, make Torah study Keva, firm, a fixed practice, Sefaria translates. It should be kavua, it should be set. Emor me'at va'asei harbe. Say little and do much. Veheve mekabel et kol ha'adam besever panim yafot, and receive people with a pleasant face, with a nice demeanor.
It was funny. I read this the first time maybe 30 years ago. Okay. And as I told you all before, I mean, this whole book, Pirkei Avot, changed my whole life. Okay. And receive all men, all people in a friendly fashion. And that was all that has been since then. I try to do it all the time to receive everybody in a friendly. Hi, everybody.
Right.
To bring this to a personal level, it was Elliot Levine who welcomed me to Shar Zion, and that stuck with me forever. And I keep on reminding him that I didn't know Elliot. I walked into shul alone, and he just made it for me. So again, thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
As an out-of-towner to Shar Zion, it was Elliot during Torah reading who took me down to the Kiddush. So that was very welcoming.
Did we have fun?
Yes, in a very pleasant way.
All right. Now I do the Kiddush Club alone.
When I read the last part, to receive all men with a pleasant countenance, my father, Avoshalom, was a Holocaust survivor, and he always used to say, you never leave any place badly. Like, you deal with everybody in a good way, and you never, leave, have bad relationships with anybody, because you never know when you will need somebody.
Sure.
that you maintain good relationships, that it's out, that was a key, to maintain good relationships with everybody. And that really speaks to, I think, the second part, receive all men with a pleasant countenance.
For sure. I mean, how often does it happen where you have an innocent interaction with someone that you meet for the first time or that you don't know, and it's, you know, and it is what it is. And then a week later, a month, year, 10 years, you're on a committee with them, or you're on, or you need something, and that's the person you have to call, and it goes back to that first interaction, you know. I mean, I even read this that even if you have to fake it, right? Like even if you don't want to, maybe shine it on a bit, you know.
Is that like self-serving?
Well, I think it's the same like every other mitzvah. It's for the benefit of us all and for the benefit of me also, right? Im eina nili mili, right? Starts with ani, right? And there's a reason that the previous Mishnah is in that order. If I'm not for myself, right? If it's first with me, and then out, you know. So
True. It makes me feel good to be friendly to other people.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
I keep reading the line, speak little but do much.
Yeah.
And unfortunately today, I think people speak much and do little. And that to me is a catchphrase.
Right.
Marilyn, this is my favorite saying when I was president of the shul. Okay? After all that's said and done, more is said than done.
Here we go.
Yeah.
It is what it
I wanted to mention that when I was younger, we were very secular, and I just started going to synagogue when my kids were small, and I didn't know what to do with them on Saturday when it was cold in Canada. They were all born in Canada. So I started going to junior congregation, and all my family and friends were looking at me and going, "What are you, becoming frum now?" And I said, "I'm doing what's good for me. I don't care." So, imena nili mili, you know. So I don't really care what people say, but I'm still, I like very much when I go to shul. I used to go to shul, like I'm staying home now. I'm always helpful and smiling, and especially when I see strangers. I welcome them to the shul, and I invite them to come join us in the kiddush.
Yep.
And they always say, no, I came just for the kaddish, you know. I said, doesn't matter, you just have a bagel, have a coffee, have a something. And they're always becoming friendly after that.
Rabban Gamliel said, "Aseh lecha rav yistalek min hasafek v'tarbeh l'aser omadot." So not the first time we've seen this. Aseh lecha rav. You need to go find a teacher. V'histalek min hasafek. Interesting advice here. Remove yourself from doubt. Ve'al tarbeh le'aser omadot. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Don't make a habit of tithing don't guess when you're doing maaser. So maaser is the commandment of setting aside 1/10 of your produce for charity. Let's just call it charity. Don't get, so I would think it's saying don't guess at that. Do it exact.
assessment.
These are interesting.
I think it means al tarbeh. Don't don't make only 10, because
Uh-huh.
you know, when you're doing things, you say, oh, I have to do 10 things, so I'm going to do 10,
Right.
not 11, not 12. So if you want to do nice things for people, don't just do the 10. I
Right.
think that's what it means. Al tarbe le'aser. Don't tempt them always.
Ah.
Istalek min hasafek. That means you don't have to, in my mind, don't doubt that, okay, I did 10, that's it, enough. So if you want to do more, do more. Don't just tempt them.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah,
I
me
like that.
too. So how do these three things connect, though? Because we could assume that things are not lumped together arbitrarily, that there is a thought that goes through this whole Mishnah. We can say that the Rav, that find yourself a teacher so that you don't have the safek, right? Like, find the teacher so that you know what you're talking about. You know what the Torah, the Mishnah, the things that you're learning are about. And how does that connect to Maser?
I think it means that asel harav means learn from, make teachers from people that you admire or that you want to learn from them. And don't just say, okay, I have a rabbi, I don't want to learn from any other rabbi. Asel harav means learn from anybody that you're finding interesting.
Sure.
And don't just say, avoid doubt, meaning don't just learn from one. If you hear somebody else say very smart things, learn from them. Don't just stay within your 10, open your mind.
Sure.
But then it says remove yourself from doubt. That means you learn from him, and the teacher, okay, and she tells you something, and you say, you know what? I don't doubt what she said was correct.
Right.
And therefore, I'm removing doubt from my mind, okay? And then I should accustom myself, giving myself time, okay? And do not accustom. In other words, I liked what Gail said before, okay? They tell you to give 10, give 11, give 12. Not because you have to give by assessment. Do not accustom yourself. So always give a little bit more. I like these three. This is very good. I like them. I see the connection.
When I read avoid doubt, I'm not linking it to the first part about the teacher. Avoid doubt to me is being action-oriented, like Hillel says. And do not make a habit of tithing by guesswork. Don't tithe just sort of in a haphazard way, that there should be some forethought in what you're doing in giving the tithe. So there should be a plan. There should be that you have, that is going to go for a specific cause, not that at the last minute I need to do this tithe, that I'm going to do it. There should be some thought process there, some meaning as to why you're doing it.
Beautiful.
And I think all three are linked in that it's talking about the I, the self, and it's also, they're all three thinking of the community in one way too. That let's say with Hillel, you can have strong convictions, but you just don't live in a world of just yourself. You're working with other people, and you have to think of other people, be action oriented. And Shammai is more or less saying the same thing too.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. You're receiving from a teacher, you're removing self-doubt, and then you're giving. So you're receiving, you accept it, and then you start to give. Aleph, Bet, and Gimel.
Interesting. That's nice.
That's how I see it now. I love this conversation. Very nice.
That's the sort of chain of events. It
Yeah.
comes in and goes out. Yeah.
I think also that what they mean by avoid doubt is when you're learning something and doesn't click. So don't just pass it. Avoid it by talking about it and dwelling into it so you're not in doubt anymore.
Right. So if you haven't passed this phase, go back to this phase. Right?
That's right. Learn.
Once you sort of complete the two, then you can go on. To me, the first time reading this was almost like find a teacher and then avoid doubt. So accept what the teacher tells you, and that's not really the Jewish way, right? We argue and we don't take things just from a person just because they said it's so, right? That, I mean, the whole concept of the Mishnah and Gemara is that we don't just accept, you know. I mean, Hillel and Shammai argued about pretty much everything, you know.
Good one. Yeah. Good one.
We do one more. Let's do it. So just to point out, Gamliel was Hillel's grandson. Just a little sort of Jeopardy footnote there. And he was the head of the Sanhedrin, right? I believe right around the time of the destruction of the Second Temple. And he was the one that really championed codifying prayer. And which led to the Siddur, you know, which, I mean, he was, you know, Jews were in exile. They were, you know, being enslaved. And he was one of the people that foresaw tefillah getting lost and really thought that we should write things down, which was a revolutionary idea. Because we're talking about sacred language. But yeah, definitely one of the authors of the Siddur. Shimon beno, so now his son Shimon, said, Kol yamai gadalti ben chachamim. I grew up among chachamim. Velo matzati laguf tov ela shtika. And I find this hilarious. I grew up among rabbis, and never did I. But the best thing for a person is silence, right? It's like that's hilarious, and very, very wise. Velo hamidrash hu ha'ikar. Ela hamaseh. V'chol hamarbe dvarim mevi chet. So the midrash, the telling, the Dvar Torah is not the ikar, is not the essence. Ela hamaseh, but it's the actions, right? So you can study Torah all day long, but that's not the ikar. The ikar is, what do you do when you log off the Zoom and you go about your day into your next interaction with someone? Do you remember Heve kol adam b'sever panim? You know, and it's putting it into action. V'chol hamarbe dvarim, one who marbe dvarim, maybe you can say speaks too much, does too much, acquires too much. Mevi chet, brings chet, sins. Again, very, very valuable teachings. I sort of laughed at the first one that I grew up among rabbis and sages, and his takeaway, or he's saying what's so important from that experience is shtika, right? That so much can get lost in the argument just by arguing, and perhaps the silence, that breath, right, lets you hear. First of all, you can't speak and hear at the same time. So the silence is really when you hear. And the silence perhaps gives a bit of clarity to things. So I mean, how often do we respond in haste? And whether it's an email or in a meeting, or and perhaps let the thought breathe, even if you don't agree. Let the thought breathe for a second. Any other comments on this one?
You know what? It's very profound. I'm going to stay silent.
Well said.
Is that something like silence is golden?
Yeah, for sure.
But they don't really say be silent. They say you should do things. Ela hama'aseh, meaning being silent is one thing, but you should do what people are saying. Kol hamarbe dvarim is don't talk so much. Mevih het.
What they say.
Okay, what do you think?
Siag.
No, that's stiag lachokma shtika. That's something else.
Elliot, that's what you were saying before.
After all that's said and done, more is said than done.
But why does something always have to be done? Why isn't silence in itself just good?
Because talking about helping the poor is fine, but talking and talking and talking doesn't do anything. Just like President, what's his name in USA, signed something yesterday morning because everybody talked about it, but he didn't sign it. So everybody was going to be without any money for the next, I don't know how long. So now that he did it, something was done. But he wanted to talk about it.
That's a whole other volume.
But that's about talking a lot and doing the little.
Dale, I love it. You already forgot the president's name. That's phenomenal.
I don't want to repeat it. It's not that I forgot. It's like saying a bad word.
I have to tell you a funny story.
You know what you say on touring during Haman's name? You make noise so nobody can hear it.
Oh,
I didn't forget the name, believe me.
It's interesting. Yesterday, as in my cleaning up efforts, I started to read something to see whether I should throw it out or not. And the first word I saw was Trump. And I said, why would I have anything? It was part of my bridge lessons. We are so attuned to that it really was notes that I had on bridge. And I laughed.
But the word Trump is, it's like the word Joker.
Yeah.
In cards.
I think this mission is very exact. It's saying that when you speak too much, things that it has the chance of not being good, right? So that's why Shimon is saying, don't forget the value of silence. That among all these chachamim, what I found was silence is very, very valuable. But don't think that silence is the only thing where it's at, because ma'aseh, the actions, that's where it's at. So it's not about speaking too much, and it's not only about silence, but the ikar, he's saying, is what are you doing?
There's another expression about overstating your case. And
right.
That's where silence comes in too, and things can get done.
I mean, I've been living in the world of music and bands and ensembles, and there's a famous expression, less is more, right? Like if you're in that environment and everyone wants to show what they could do and look at me, then it really doesn't sound good. But the second you have that rest note, that silence, and you let someone else into the mix, then you really have the chance to actually hear what they're saying. So it's the same in Torah. It's the same in life. It's the same in any situation, I think.
Yep.
Adam, wonderful. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Good learning.
Thank you very much.
Everybody
This is
participates.
another something little that I do
Enjoy.
for me. Imena Nili Mili. I really enjoy this class. And unfortunately, I forget sometimes when it's on.
Well, you just have to Google Sefaria Pirkei Avot, and it's all there.
No. I'm joining this class.
I know for sure.
And Safari, like they said, you always have to learn with someone else.
Yeah, for sure. So important.
So looking in the Safari doesn't help me.
Well, it helps you, but you shouldn't only just look at the Sefaria, because you got to do the Maaseh. You got to bring it to the class, and but we will try not to talk too much.
We need to discuss.
Much. If you're interested, Sidney Margulies is speaking at 12. He's in conversation with Paul Grafe about his career as a broadcaster for CJAD, who I believe is celebrating their 75th anniversary this year. And I don't know if you are Facebook friends with him, but he's been posting a lot of his pictures, and it seems like he's got some fascinating stories. So that'll be back, I believe, on this Zoom link at 12. He's being interviewed by our very own Paul Grafe. So that's at 12, and I will attempt at singing some Sinatra classics on Thursday at 8, so we can have a l'chaim together to toast Chag Sylvester, as it's called in Eretz HaKodesh. And all right, have a great...
I have a picture of myself. I was born in Vilna. I have a picture of myself at the age of 4 standing near a wooden horse. My brother is sitting on it. He's 2 years older. And there's a Christmas tree behind us.
Wow.
I don't know where my mother took it.
Wow.
So that was in Russia. It's not called New Year's. It's called Sylvester.
Oh, Russia too. Okay, nice. And when did you move to Israel?
When I was almost 6.
And what?
So I skipped kindergarten because in Russia they didn't let us go out of Russia because we were refuseniks, if you remember the word.
Sure.
But then my father was Polish born, so they let us go to Poland. So at age 4, we left Russia. We came to Poland, and about a year later, my father and mother made the papers to go to Israel. In Poland, they didn't have refuseniks. They didn't do refuse. So they didn't refuse us to go out. So I arrived in Israel in 1958.
Wow.
And I went straight to grade 1 because there's no kindergarten at age 6. In Poland, there's kindergarten from age 6 till 7, and at 7 you go to grade 1. In Israel, age 6 you go to grade 1, and I missed kindergarten. Never had it. That's why I don't know how to cut with the scissor. I stayed in Israel till the age. I finished school there, grade 8, and then we did grade 9. And my father was in the 6-Day War. And there was, I don't know, how do you call mitun in Hebrew? In English? Recession in Israel. And my parents wanted to come to Canada, and I arrived in Canada. I went to Northmount High School.
Wow.
Oh, me too. What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 70. They put me a year back, so I did 68, 69, 70.
Okay. I graduated in 65. Oh, you're so much younger than me.
I don't have white hair, see? This comes from a Revlon box.
Yeah, but I have my hair.
I thought Vilna is part of Lithuania.
Vilna is part of Lithuania. Yes, it's the capital of Lithuania. But my parents are not, they came to Vilna after the war. My father lost his, everybody in his...
Where were your
My
parents?
father came from a very rich family. And when the war started, they ran away from Poland to Lithuania, and they sent him to summer camp. And the war started. The whole summer camp was taken on trucks to somewhere, and he never saw his parents or family again.
Wow. Where were your parents born?
My father was born in Poland. My mother was born in Taureg. I think it's part of Latvia.
Oh, wow. Where in Poland?
My father was born in a city called Seini. It's very near the border of Lithuania and Poland. But at that time, Lithuania was part of, I don't know, a long time ago, Vilna was part of Poland also.
Right.
And then it became part of...
You could wake up the next day and be
when I was born, it was USSR, which doesn't exist anymore.
right.
And now it's Lithuania. And I've never been there again.
Wow.
Very interesting.
But the first language I spoke was Yiddish because at home I was a little girl and my parents and my grandparents all spoke Yiddish to me.
Right.
So here I am, 54 years later, after arriving to Canada. 53, almost 54. And my first language is still Yiddish.
That's when they do the census, they ask you what's your first language. I always put down Yiddish.
Hmm.
That's the
Yeah, but I married an Israeli, so I would speak Hebrew at home all the time. I come back to Israel often and they say, how can you speak Hebrew when you're 55 years, 53 years in Canada? I said, see, it's easy. That's what I speak at home.
Mm.
All right,
Okay.
everyone. Have a great day.
Have a good week. Shavua Tov to everybody.
You too.
To 12 o'clock. And next Monday, Adam, next Monday, 9 o'clock.
We're on.
Okay. And Thursday at 8 o'clock.
Thursday at 8 o'clock, but it's not the Parsha. It's
It's a Sinatra.
of Frank Sinatra.
All
Are you
right.
going to have a hat?
We'll see. We'll see if I can find one that fits.
Adam, do you sing I'll Never Smile Again?
I don't know. I haven't put the show together yet. We'll see.
Oh, okay. That was written by my former sister-in-law's mother-in-law.
Oh, no way.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Well, you got to follow. If you can follow the schedule, Elliot, you can follow the.
The lineage.
Right.